Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 28. Measure passes. Okay, we're going to go back to the concurrence file. File item 12, AB 1307. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1307 by Assemblymember Skinner, an act relating to taxation.
Ms. Skinner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, this is returning for concurrence. It is a bill sponsored by the Board of Equalization, and it provides the BOE some additional tools to provide incentives for taxpayers who have outstanding liabilities to resolve those outstanding tax liabilities. And it allows the BOE to enter into or rather those people who owe those liabilities to enter into payment plans, and allows BOE the ability to review other data that the state has to determine assets and such. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And for members, you know I usually don't get up this much, but today it seems like a number of bills that I just have fundamental disagreements with. And if I may, a question to the author.
Without objection.
Part of this legislation will allow the BOE and other agencies to not renew a license for individuals who need state licenses for their vocation. Is that correct?
To hold, it allows the BOE to ask certain licensee boards to hold on the renewal of licenses until a payment plan can be entered. Yes, but it's only in conditions where the entity with the tax liability, where they've exhausted all other means to try to collect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Back on my own time. Members, we have an economy that we all know is suffering. Many of these small businesses are accumulating state and federal tax debt. Their only means of making money, maybe it's a job here or a job there if you're a contractor, a painter, or something like that, is very sporadic. You don't have the means to make a payment schedule and stick with it at this point. This legislation will allow the boards and commissions to basically not renew your only license, your only vocation ability that you have, if they don't think that there's enough of the payment plan or enough of the effort being put out by the tax debtor. This is fundamentally wrong in logic. I agree with the premise of let's collect more of the taxes where we can, but people just don't have some of this money. And the only way you're going to allow them to make the money to pay off their debts is to allow them to do their vocation. And you're going to make them do a choice sometimes between paying their mortgage or putting their food for their family on the table or making a payment that may be higher than what they agreed upon because they have no choice but to get their license renewed, if that's their only vacation they have. We're here representing the people of the state. We're not here to protect the state government and its infrastructure. Here, the people of the state of California. There are a number of ways. I did collections for 25 years in one of my businesses. A number of ways to collect debt. One of them for small businesses and those is, besides bank garnishment stuff, is a keeper of their business. You can maintain on these and you can watch what's going on. We don't need to do the harsh government reality of saying, I'm going to take the only way you know how to make a living away from you if you don't make an agreement and pay back your taxes fast enough for us. Urge you no vote.
Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I agree with the premise that you have to be able to go after those who fail or refuse to pay their legal taxes. I accept that. That is part of a civilized society that everybody needs to pitch in. What concerns me about this particular bill is that we are turning the tax collector into the judge and jury as well as being the tax collector. We should not empower one single regulatory body to also serve as the deciding agency as to whether or not it is appropriate and just to shut down the small businessman or woman when there is a dispute over their taxes. This bill is on the right premise of trying to get the money owed, but it is utilizing the wrong tactic by having the same person who's trying to get the money decide whether or not they should shut the business down. This bill should be amended to allow an independent agency or body that is not going to benefit directly from the collection of the taxes to make the determination of whether or not the situation is so severe that you need to end their livelihood. You cannot let the tax collector be the judge and jury. I urge you to vote no on this.
Seeing no further questions or debate, Ms. Skinner, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, what this bill actually does is purely give the BOE this tool in order to allow those with tax liabilities to enter into a payment plan. We have $1.5 billion now in outstanding tax liabilities. This is purely enhancing the tools that BOE has and would, under reasonable circumstances, not put anyone's livelihood in jeopardy. And I ask for your aye vote.
Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 43, noes 25. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 13, AB 1424. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1424 by Assemblymember Perea, an act relating to taxation.
Mr. Perea.
Madam Speaker and members, every year the Franchise Tax Board and the State Board of Equalization compile and publish lists of the top 250 tax debtors with delinquent income tax liability in excess of $100,000. AB 1424 will give our state tax agencies the proper tools to go after these debtors in order to collect their long overdue debts. Specifically, AB 1424 would do all of the following. It would increase the number of tax debtors included on the FTB and BOE list from 250 to 500. It would require state governmental licensee entities to suspend or refuse to issue a professional, business, or driver's license if a licensee's name is included in the top 500 debtors list. Now, it's important to note, colleagues, that this suspension will be lifted if the taxpayer enters into a payment plan with the FTB or BOE, whichever is applicable, or qualifies for a financial hardship exemption. It would prohibit any state agency from entering into a contract for goods and services with a tax debtor on the top 500 tax debtors list. It would authorize both the FTB and BOE to enter into reciprocal agreements with the IRS and other states, which would allow other states' taxing agencies to collect from California debtors that have moved their assets outside of California. Currently, 20 debtors on the FTB tax debtors list have assets out of the state. And lastly, it would require the FTB to update and approve the top 500 list by adding the names of company presidents and corporate officers for business entities appearing on the list. It is estimated that if AB 1424 were enacted, the state would collect over $140 million in the next 5 years. Now, colleagues, it's important to note the individuals that we're talking about that appear on this list. The individual who owes the most on this list owes more than $14.2 million. The person who owes the least owes over $300,000. So what I'd like to do is, again, go back to, I think, one of the issues that was brought up in the previous bill that I know some have expressed concern in this bill, that if you take away somebody's professional license or their driver's license, how are they going to make a living so they can pay the taxes owed? Well, it's real simple. All they have to do is enter into a payment plan, and their license is immediately reinstated after an exhaustive process. So, colleagues, I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Dr. Halderman.
Question the author.
Without objection.
How many states have entered into this type of agreement, and has the IRS entered into this type of agreement?
11 states currently have a similar bill in play or similar law in play, and 3 states, Louisiana, Michigan, and Iowa, all allow a driver's license suspension.
But not tax collection from other states.
Many of those states do have similar agreements with the IRS, so they can have reciprocal agreements.
On my own time, my understanding is this violates the interstate commerce law, and I won't be able to support it.
Seeing no further questions or debate, Mr. Perea, you may close.
Just respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 44, noes 24. Senate amendments are concurred in, and file item 15, AB 436. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 436 by Assemblymember Solorio and others, an act relating to public works and making appropriation therefore.
Mr. Solorio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This bill makes technical changes to the method by which the Department of Industrial Relations is funded to perform prevailing wage monitoring services on statewide bond programs. Instead of paying an upfront fee, public agencies that award public works contracts would now be charged by the department for their enforcement activities, and the public agencies would then have to reimburse the department for those costs. This change in procedure is necessary because the Attorney General's office is concerned that the current requirement to pay an upfront fee is inconsistent with constitutional bond law. This bill is supported by the California State Treasurer, the Department of Industrial Relations, the State Building Trades Council, and the California Labor Federation. I urge your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 44, noes 26. Senate amendments are concurred in. Okay, members, we are going to take a recess so that a couple committees can meet. If you could just give us a second to clarify the last committee. Okay, members, in the first extraordinary session, there was a motion, 77.2, AB 31X, that was referred to the Budget Committee, and now we would like to re-refer it to the Appropriations Committee. Without objection? Mr. Hagman?
Madam Speaker, not objects, but then we have to go, yeah, first extraordinary. Okay.
Okay, we're out of extraordinary session. Gavel. Mr. Calderon.
Okay. Madam Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Joint Rule 62A, file notice requirement to allow the Health Committee to meet and to hear SB 791 today upon the call of the chair in a room to be announced.
Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I haven't even a chance to look at these yet, but because of that, we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Okay, there's a motion on the table. Mr. Calderon asked for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman asked for a no vote to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the Health Committee to meet and hear SB 791 today upon call of the chair in a room to be announced. Clerk will open the roll. Mr. Calderon asked for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman asked for a no vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 46, noes 22. Motion carries. And pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring SB 791 by submitting to the Committee on Health. Mr. Calderon.
I request unanimous consent to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the Insurance Committee to meet and hear AB 1426 today upon call of the chair in a room to be announced.
Mr. Hagman.
Again, thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, we have no what language this is on any of these bills, so we would ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Calderon's asking for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman's asking for a no vote to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the Insurance Committee to meet and hear AB 1426 today upon call of the chair in a room to be announced. Clerk will open the roll. Mr. Calderon asked for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman asked for a no vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 47, noes 21. Motion carries. And pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring AB 1426 to the Committee on Insurance. Mr. Calderon.
Also request unanimous consent to suspend the same rule to allow Governmental Organization Committee to meet and hear AB 1418 today upon the call of the chair in a room to be announced.
Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mr. Hagman asked for a roll call vote to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the Judiciary Committee to meet and to hear AB 238 today upon call of the chair in a room to be announced. Mr. Calderon asked for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman asked for a no vote. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 44, noes 24. Motion carries. And pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I'm re-referring AB 238 to the Committee on Judiciary. Mr. Calderon. Mr. Calderon.
I thought we did, but requesting unanimous consent to suspend Rule 62A to allow the Government Organization Committee to meet and hear AB 418 today.
I was under the impression we did that one too, Madam Speaker, but we'll ask for a roll call vote on that.
Okay, Mr. Hagman objects to the motion to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the Governmental Organization Committee to meet and hear AB 1418 today upon call of the chair in a room to be announced. Mr. Calderon asked for an aye vote. Mr. Hagman asked for a no vote. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 48, noes 21. Motion carries. And pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring AB 1418 to the Committee on Governmental Organization. Okay, so the committee schedule is as follows. Meeting immediately upon recess. The Health Committee will meet in room 4202. Health Committee 4202. Insurance Committee will meet in the Rules Committee room. Judiciary will meet in room 126. Natural Resources will meet in room 447. Utilities and Commerce will meet in room 437. And Governmental Organization will meet upon the adjournment of the Health Committee in room 4202. So we will be in recess for an hour. While committees meet, we will reconvene at 5:45. 5:45. Natural Resources is in room 447.